get started. I snuck in here a little bit early. I've got some things to pick up, and Monastic, I'm rescuing the plants. That's kind of the main mission, but I'm also getting some things that I need to be able to do this job from home. So I'm in here, and I'm going to put some notes on the board, and I'm going to do some recording of some stuff, and then I'm going to post it. So you should be seeing this by the time I'm done. Okay, so I'm going to start with each class, and then we're going to go from there. All right, hey, Algebra AV guys, I'm going to be talking to both classes. This should go a lot faster. It's going to be tough without Hope, asking all those awesome questions that she always asks. But we're going to do the best we can. We're going to kind of do Chapter 10 in one big roll here. Honestly, I'm not really even supposed to be here. I can dash in for a minute. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get some notes taken the way you're used to seeing them taken. And then you can refer back to this video again and again and again. And maybe this will help a little bit as we move forward with this crazy Corona time. So what we're doing is we're starting Chapter 10. Chapter 10 is not very difficult. It's kind of easy, but you need to relax with it. There's a lot of information, but some of it you already know. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some things. You can write this down, you can go back, you can rewrite it down later, you can always come back and see this. It's going to stay posted for a while. All right, so let's talk about the very first thing, which is the quadratic formula from the standpoint of standard form of a line. So we have ax squared plus bx plus c. This is the standard form, and the a's and the b's and the c's are all the numbers in front that we're going to pull out and put into various formulas. There's some interesting things, though. When we have this, we usually set it equal to y, or to find those intercepts, we set it equal to 0. Very simple, very easy. And zeros, as you recall, means it's where the parabolic curve crosses the x-intercept, the x-line. 1 and 0. So that's what we're going to start working with, is trying to find all of these intercepts and getting this all taken care of and getting all the graphing and everything done. So, things that we're going to look at first are what the A means. A, that talks about the kind of the intensity of the opening. How it's opening. Is it narrow? Is it wide? How does it open? And, if positive, it opens up. If negative, it opens down. So if the A number is positive, we know the parabolic curve opens up. If we know it's negative, we know it opens down. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Don't overthink this. It's not too hard. All right. Obviously, the C number is going to be your y-intercept. That's always that way, so that's something that you got easy, and you can use that for graphing, although primarily what we're going to be looking for is the vertex, which is the very bottom or the very top of the parabolic curve, and we're going to look for the intercepts. So as we go back to A, what is something else that A tells us? A tells us whether or not it is narrow or wide. And the larger the number, the more narrow it will be. And the smaller the number, the more wide it will be. Because of this, the very first thing that you're going to look at in 10.1 is going to be a modified version of this that says ax squared plus c. And all you need to know from that is that this determines how wide, how narrow, up or down that it opens. And what this tells you is where on the graph that the vertex starts, the y-intercept. We know it's the vertex because the b number actually modifies left or right movement. It's a little bit more complex than that, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But for the most part, an example would be y equals x squared plus 4. So on the graph, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's positive, it's a regular parent function, which means it doesn't have anything in front of it. So I know it works like this. That's all you got to know. If it said y equals 2 negative x squared minus 1, I would go to the minus 1, there's my vertex, and then it's going to be narrow, and it's going to open down because it's negative. Those are the things that I know. Pretty simple, pretty easy. And of course, you can have one that started exactly the same place, took off the negative sign, and it would still be narrow, but it would open up. No problem whatsoever. That really takes care of ax squared plus c. It's kind of a beginning, it's kind of a half thing, it's in the book, it's a nice start. We're going to start with there and move on. Graphing. Graphing is super simple and graphing is super easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step over here. I'm going to put my overhead on so that I can put a graphing screen over the top of this. It'll take a second to warm up. But what you're really going to do is graph like you normally would graph. Very simple, very easy. So, very good. I love it. We are up and running on that. So let's take a look at a pretty easy one to do. And I think what we're going to do is look at y equals x squared plus 4x plus 1. Double check, make sure I've got that right. Okay, so now let me make a little adjustment here. Give us a little bit more whiteboard space to work on. There we go. Perfect. Love it. And our graph looks good, so we're in good shape there. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up, and I know I'm kind of drifting off the edge here. We're going to set up a little T-bar method, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to pick some functions, some numbers, and we're going to go with that. So let's put like -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. All right, we will start with those. This is how we do this each particular time. Y equals -5 squared plus 4 times -5 plus 1. Y equals 25 minus 20 plus 1. Y equals 25 minus 20 is 5 plus 1 is 6. And I put my 6 over here. And I'm going to continue this right on down the line with each number. So I get 16 minus 16 plus 1. Oh, that's easy. 1. Boom. All right, I do -3. I'll put -3 in there. I grab my eraser really fast. Smudging up the board too much. Okay, -3 squared is 9. 4 times -3 is -12. 9 minus 12 is -3, and -3 plus 1 is -2. I'll put my -2 over there. Okay, I'm going to continue with these. moving right along. So 4 minus 8, negative 4 plus 1, negative 3. Let's see, and 1 minus 4 is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 1 is a negative 2. That looks interesting. This tells us we've hit the bottom of the, this tells us that we've hit the bottom of the curve. This appears to be the vertex. I have this idea because it's come down and now it's going back up again. So let's continue working this and see where we get. All right, now I'm going to put in 0. Oh, well, that's easy. 1. Still on our way up. I'm going to put 1 in. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but my values on either side appear to be the same. In fact, I'm happy enough with this, I'm not going to waste time with the next two. Let's go to graphing. Graphing is where we take this information and we go real easy with it. So I'm going to go over to negative 5, and I'm going to go up to 6, and I'm going to make a dot. I'm going to go over to negative 4, then I'm going to go up to 1, I'm going to make a dot. I'm going to go over to negative 3. I'm going to go down 2, I'm going to make a dot. I'm going to go over to negative 2. I'm going to go down 3, I'm going to make a dot. I'm going to go over to negative 1. I'm going to go down 2, make a dot. I'm going to go over to 0. I'm going to go back up to 1. And then 1, 6. And I have a parabolic curve. Piece of cake. That's called graphing. That's all you got to do. You just plug and play. You pick your numbers and you put them in. This particular point right here is what we call the vertex. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint right now. If you know where the vertex is, when graphing, all you need to do is pick a couple to the left, pick a couple to the right. So the real question is, how do you know where the vertex is? Let me give you a little hint on that one. This is super easy. The vertex can be found by taking the opposite of whatever the B number is and dividing it by 2 A's. That's it. Let's check this and see if that works. All right, here's my B number. What is the opposite of my B number? Well, it's opposite 4. And I'm going to take that times 2 times whatever my A number 1, which is 1. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. Oh, look at that. There's the x value for my negative number. That would be my start point. I would use this number as my x value for my middle number or my vertex. Nice little trick there. You're actually going to work some problems with that. Pretty simple, pretty easy. This should have you through easily 10.2 and 10.3. Man, we're good to go here. Getting there fast. All right. 10.4. 10.4 and 10.5 is when we start the process of solving quadratic equations. What that means is, that's super technical, but what it means is we are using the quadratic formula simply to find, or when we solve, just find the x-intercepts. That's all we're looking at. Where do they cross the x-line? And so we're going to do a little bit of erasing here, and we're going to reset, and we're going to start working some problems that do that. Okay, the first thing that we're going to talk about with 10.4 is kind of a halfway of finding solutions. What we're wanting to do is to use basic square roots. Now, getting back to 10.1, which is the very first thing we talked about, when it was ax squared plus c, if that b value, that b coefficient isn't there, this allows us to do kind of an interesting trick. Let me show you what we do. Here's an example of an ax squared plus ca, or plus c form of a quadratic. I have it set equal to 0, which means that's what I want to know where the c values are, where the x-intercepts are. Very simple, very easy. I'm just going to solve this equation. All right, now we've got it down to x squared equals 9. And this was no great big humongous thing, super simple and easy. All I have to do to get rid of an x squared is square root. So my next plan of action is to square root. That gives me my x. But when I square root, I always get two possible answers. I get a negative square root answer, and I get the principal square root answer, which is positive. Which means the square root of 9 could be 3 or negative 3. And if I were graphing, I would know that my two intercepts on this equation were here. Now, what else do I know? Well, I know this. My a value is a positive 6, which tells me it opens up. And then the last thing I would try and find out is where it actually crosses. But we kind of know this, way down where, because the c values always are intercept. So if I were to go way down here to negative 54, that would tell me where this parabolic curve actually graphed. And we'd be able to graph it and do everything we wanted to. But for today, we're not graphing. We're not finding that vertex. All we're finding are the zeros, the solutions, the x-intercepts. It all means the same thing. Very simple, very easy. How about I work one more?